Indeed, we come before you again, dear God, not for vain talks or words, dear God, but to share, dear God, to identify, dear God, to disseminate, dear God, on behalf of your people, dear God. Father, we ask that, as we gather here this morning, as the President General, dear God, is going to deliver, dear God, we ask that those who are receiving, dear God, receive the message, dear God, analyze what is taking place, dear God, and know the predicament that we can be in or are in. Father God, we ask for your direction. We ask that, they direct him, dear God, that he say or deliver what is required to be delivered, dear God. Continue to keep him and strengthen him, dear God. We pray that the media, dear God, in their disseminating of what they receive, dear God, they disseminate the effective, concise message. And when the people receive it, dear God, they know what is sent to them. Father, we thank you for life, we thank you for health and strength, dear God. Father, we ask that you comfort the hearts of those who lost loved ones, dear God, in this time, dear God, and you continue to make us stronger and better for the movement going forward ever, backward never. Trace and we pray. Amen. 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 Amen.
Pleasant, good Monday morning to you members of the media, and welcome you to another one of our press briefings here at the headquarters of the Oilfields Workers Trade Union here in San Fernando. Welcome. Let me first start by describing what we are going to deal with here this morning. It is the issue of pensions for the former PETROTRIN workers, and it is pensions for those retirees, those who would have worked and retired prior to the shutting down of PETROTRIN in November of 2018. That is to say that there were a number of persons who would have worked their entire work life at PETROTRIN and the former companies prior to PETROTRIN being formed. All of them, through their terms and conditions of work, would have been entitled to pensions, which is deferred earnings. That is to say that when you work, every week you get paid, or every fortnight you get paid, or every month you get paid. The workers contributed to a pension plan, which the company would have also made a contribution on their behalf and invested that in a fund called pension fund, that at their retirement they will now be able to be guaranteed for the rest of their lives on this earth. Pension payments and so on, to allow them to live a sort of a dignified life in their retirement life. And therefore, the point I wish to make is that pensions are deferred earnings, and pensions is not gratis that the company would have given those persons at that time, but that it is a pension fund that those workers would have contributed to during their working life. Now, I also want to start by saying that I heard very recently the Prime Minister, when questioned about the benefits that his ministers are enjoying as a result of their being ministers and cabinet ministers and ministers of government and so on, and parliamentarians and so on, that is a term and condition that they ought to enjoy, because he sought legal opinion and he was told that that is a term and condition for those persons who are now in receipt of that benefit. Well, absolutely no consideration was given to the terms and conditions of those who would have toiled in PETROTRIN, in Texaco, in Trinidad, in Tesoro, in all of those companies that operated before that resulted in our national oil company, PETROTRIN, at the time of closure. So in other words, absolutely no regard for those people who would have contributed to the wealth of the country during the existence of PETROTRIN. But here's he now saying that those benefits, those luxury benefits that they enjoy, terms of their engagement. And he sought legal advice on that. So I'm just putting that out to show how disingenuous some people can be, Prime Minister included, when it comes to dealing with ordinary people. People who work for the country. And I want the retirees, all of you this morning, to take full note of what I'm about to say with respect to your plan, because it's a plan. The pension plan, the PETROTRIN employees' pension plan, is the retirees' pension plan. It's the workers' pension plan. It's those who retired before and those who were sent into retirement or who were unjustifiably dismissed in 2018, November. So at that time, when the government announced that they were going to shut down PETROTRIN, remember that? They're not shutting it down. It's just 1,700 workers to go. And that all of the workers are not going home. The government is not shutting down PETROTRIN. If you open or closing your fridge, the government is not shutting down PETROTRIN. And then the chairman said immediately after that, if you don't call me in the night to ask me anything, all the workers are going home. The effect of that had the actuaries very concerned, the actuaries of the plan, very, very concerned. And therefore the actuaries, Bacon, Woodruff, and the Sousa Limited, would have expressed that concern to the chairman, that all fella, SPNL, saying that if you close the company and you send all of these workers home, the plan at that time was already in deficit, meaning that the company needed to fund the deficit, the difference, to ensure that all of the benefits due to workers to be retired, workers who are currently in retirement at that time, if you close the company down and there's no more contribution to be made, because everybody is at home now, the plan will be in further jeopardy. And therefore what you need to do is to make good on your payment to close this deficit at that time. So that was the advice. And there was a bit of a wrangling because the chairman sought to not heed the advice, and then they wrote again, and it became a public issue because the union raised the issue publicly. And I want people to remember that. The union raised the issue publicly and otherwise, and with the chairman, with that information, that if they do not put into the plan enough money to secure the benefits, which monies would have been paid by workers contributing during their working life, because there were a significant number of young workers who throughout their working lives would have contributed to the fund, to the pension fund, and that pension fund would have been able to fund all of the benefits for those who were already retired until death, and those who are to retire when their retirement age comes around. And also to guarantee for the beneficiaries if unfortunately a retiree dies, to guarantee for the guarantee period of 15 years that which the retiree would have enjoyed had he lived for the guarantee period. In other words, to ensure that all of the entitlement to the retirees, new and old, that they would have been guaranteed by virtue of workers working, company in operation, and people making contribution to the pension fund. Somebody decided on the basis of advice that we are yet to determine who advised them. Somebody got up vexed one morning because the OWTU spoke the truth about how they were running the economy and so on, and how they were not dealing with crime, and how they were not dealing with all of the problems that we are entering, that we are seeing right now, we are experiencing right now. Not dealing properly with the energy sector, not dealing properly with PETROTRIN itself. And somebody get vexed and shut down the company. And the net effect is that those retirees then and those who were placed on the breadline and now come to retirement age, that their pensions are in jeopardy. So if there's any takeaway you should get this morning from what is being said here, is that retirees, PETROTRIN retirees, your pensions, your guaranteed pension, that condition of work, that fella didn't check with his senior counsel or his attorneys or his legal advice, but he checked with his legal advice on the basis of his own people and himself to make sure that he secured the benefits, those luxury benefits and so on. No custom duties and so on, tax exemption and so on, VAT exemption, all of those things, serving themselves. But when it comes to the retirees, you are in a problem here because PNM Prime Minister Keith Rowley and deceased Khan, Imble, SPNA, who now they can't find, they don't know where he resides, they put your pensions in jeopardy. That's the takeaway I want you to get. And it is not that we are asking for anything extra for you. You are entitled to that. Not like how they are entitled, because they didn't pay into any fund or any benefit to get tax exemptions, They didn't do that. They didn't contribute to anything at all. In fact, they are not contributing to the proper functioning of the country as a whole. But as the retirees of PETROTRIN, you contributed to that, and you are entitled to that until death do you and that benefit part. But it's in jeopardy. Because that SPNA, the chairman at the time, said, maintained that they will, backed by information from the short fellow who don't like to pay money at all, Imber, that they will pay into the fund and therefore they will make up the difference. Shut the company down, we will pay. We will find the money to pay. So in other words, there was a lot more money to be expended at the time of shutdown, the consequence of the shutdown, that they didn't thoroughly examine. So while on one hand they were making the public believe that PETROTRIN was a burden, in truth and in fact, the country would have benefited and we would not have had this problem that we are dealing with right now. So let's now fast forward to where we are, having had the basis for what we are about to say this morning. So that was 2018. So in 2019, the actuarial valuation as of 30th of September 2019, again reminded, confirmed to the company that the PETROTRIN employees' pension plan is still in deficit, and that it needed the PETROTRIN employees' pension plan in this report needed some $135 million per annum for a 10-year period to take care of that deficit. In other words, it required the company, that is the legacy company or TPHL, whomsoever, to pay into the plan $135 million over a 10-year period to take care of that deficit. Now mind you, that would not have been required had workers been at work. But you took a decision to shut the company down and to deny or put in jeopardy a benefit that workers had already worked for. You now have to make up the difference.
Can you call me back in the next hour?
And therefore,
I can't talk now.
Numerous requests to ensure that that occurs from the union to PETROTRIN to TPHL went unheeded. And the time had come where we felt that legal action, rigid legal action, must commence against these people with respect to the entitlement of PETROTRIN retirees, former PETROTRIN employees. Now, something you must know is that what the company does, anytime they have legal battles to respond to, or legal challenges coming from the plan, or anything to do with the plan, they use what? The fund from the plan. They use money from the plan. So we were attempting to get this issue resolved without recourse to legal action, because they have already cannot account for why there's a deficit, why they did not heed the request of the actuaries, but that they are about to expend monies from the plan to respond to all of the legal challenges. So, despite the numerous requests and our attempt to get this resolved without them spending money from the plan, we had was to take action, because it is the workers' pensions that we are treating with, and therefore we engage the services of RLM Limited. That's Ramesh Lawrence, Senior Counsel Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj. And by letter dated the 28th of May 2021, our senior counsel, our attorneys wrote to TPHL and the trustee, Republic Bank, inquiring how and when are they going to treat with the recommendations of the actuaries. Now remember, just keep your eyes on this ball. The actuaries who would have done an evaluation of the plan as at the 30th of September 2019 would have recommended, on the basis of 1 year after the workers would have gone home, that listen, you need to pump into this plan $135 million per year for 10 years to make up this deficit. And so the question that our senior counsel, our attorneys are asking, how are you treating with this deficit created by you sending home the workers, shutting down the company, and not funding the plan? The Republic Bank attorneys, and we have a small bundle here. I want you to follow the chronology of this. In having received this letter, the trustee, Republic Bank, the attorneys, Hamel Smith, responded on the 10th of June. And responded, questioning the OWTU's right to raise question on behalf of our members. Could you imagine that? So that the bank, the trustee of the fund, who is custodian of the funds to ensure proper investment and to ensure that it's secured and so on, so that people will get their benefit when it's due, hired an attorney, Hamel Smith. And Hamel Smith now is questioning OWTU's right, the union's right, the recognized majority union's right, the union that negotiated these plans, to raise questions on behalf. Well, our attorneys, our senior counsel, on the 1st of July, wrote to Hamel Smith with authorization from some 135 members, and those members, you know who you are because you are requested to give authorization to get around the issue of OWTU's, they raise in question about OWTU's right to raise a question on behalf of the members. So we said, okay, well, you're saying that we don't have right, which we insist that we have a right, but for safety's sake and to get around that, here are 135 members giving you authorization, giving us authorization, asking you the critical question. So all of them individually would have signed authorization forms, members of the plan, again, requesting the critical information. And that would have been sent to Hamel Smith. And then we never heard from Hamel Smith again. So Hamel Smith just left the scene. So Hamel Smith, who raised the question as to OWTU's right to raise or to represent its members, because even as workers retire, it is the OWTU that negotiates improvements on the pension and their pensions and pension benefits and so on behalf of the retirees. And I want the retirees to remember that in your time of active employment and on your retirement, it is nobody else but your union, the OWTU, that continue to raise issues and represent and improve the pension plan. Nobody else. Everybody else take away from. OWTU over the years would have enhanced pensions in payment, pensions, benefits and so on to retirees who had long retired simply because we felt that they deserved more, and at that time the plan could have afforded them to get more, and the union would have negotiated enormous benefits and increases and so on. But all of that is now in jeopardy, and therefore the union raising those issues are making the point again for it to resonate wherever it should, that having produced these authorization forms now and requesting this critical information again, Hamel Smith disappears from the scene. And then this is the second letter with all of these authorization and so on. All of these authorizations, all of them requesting that if you don't want to give me a union, well, look, tell me, because I authorize my union. Yeah, so, right, and this is our lawyers writing again. Well, in response to that, up comes another big name. J.D. Celia then jumps in on the 5th of July to say that it is not TPHL, Trinidad Petroleum Holding Limited, but rather it's PETROTRIN now. So it's legacy PETROTRIN. With PETROTRIN you shut down. Not like games playing, huh? But so it's not The other fella, he disappear off this, he make his money and so on, and big money, he would have a chunk of money, he would have charged them for that, off the scene. And up comes another one to eat a food. J.D. Sillier. You know these hot shot, big shot, 1%, top-notch lawyers frown on you when you request and demand what is yours. But when they're eating the food and eating like cancer, yeah, from you poor people, we don't recognize what they do. So they jump in the fray. Big money is being paid to them, J.D. Sillier. They will never tell you how much they charge for that. To say, no, it's not TPHL, but rather, it's PETROTRIN now. Okay. Well, fortunately for us, we have right here in South, former Attorney General, with a lot of credits to his name. I can't now announce that. It will be too long for me to finish that list. A lot of success to his name. Very competent comrade and brother, our senior counsel, writing again a second pre-action protocol letter to the PETROTRIN, that legacy PETROTRIN, on the 12th of July, attaching the first pre-action protocol letter, as well as the list of all of these names and so on. So to the corporate secretary and to attorneys for TPHL, and back to J.D. Sillier, responding to them, and to attorneys for Republic Bank, Hammersmith. So, in other words, everybody now, our senior counsel has responded to, and all of them are in possession of this bundle, which is treating with the critical issue, the critical question as to what is happening with the 135 million per annum recommended by the actuaries to ensure that the plan, the pension plan, pays the benefit due to workers, that which they are entitled to, that which all of the senior counsels, all of the legal advice would have advised, even the court would have advised that those are entitlement to the workers and therefore the company. And whoever took the decision to shut down the PETROTRIN must ensure that they fund that which would have been funded had the company been in operation. So that's the crucial point we wish to make here this morning, that the pension funds for the PETROTRIN workers, unless they respond and fund the deficit, that your benefits, your pensions could be in serious jeopardy, and that they are disingenuous. They lied then and they continue to lie now, all of them, by saying that they would make up the difference, but to date, none of them can answer, because all of them are in a problem now. They are cash-strapped now. They are not accounting for monies that they would have spent from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, monies that were borrowed. Today, in Trinidad and Tobago, is a time when government don't account. They just do what they want, give you a flippant answer and so on. Some kind of cheeky, kind of foolish kind of response. Tell you what they want, how they want, and so on. And you, the people, have to accept that. But we are saying with the Oilfields Workers Trade Union and this particular issue, this is not gratis. We are not begging for this. The workers would have contributed. They would have paid their tax diligently. They would have run the company, ensuring that revenues were earned over some 4-year period, over $16 billion to the national coffers, and over its existence, over $60 billion to the Treasury. But in addition to that, they would have secured, put aside every week, diligently have the company extract from their pay their pensions contribution, which pensions contribution ought to have been matched with the employer's contribution, to be invested in a fund to secure for those workers post their retirement years, to ensure that they live a decent life. That is in jeopardy. And that the union negotiating in those years could have gone for more immediate wage increases, but we decided that we're not going to take big wage increases and so on. We will take a reduction in wage increases at your pay, but let's improve the pensions benefit so that at your retirement now, you will get a little more. In other words, let's enhance your deferred earnings, put aside a little more, and take less here. All of those sacrifices were made, and today all of that is in jeopardy. We are going to the next stage of this. I'm not going to, at this time, say what the next stage is, but we are in constant consultation with our attorneys, our RLM and Company Limited, Ramesh Lawrence Maharaj and Company Limited, and they have assured us that we are going to take this to the distance. We are prepared to go to England to ensure, if that is where we need to go, to the Privy Council to ensure that the workers who work and that their contribution don't go in vain and that their pensions are secured as per their entitlement, that which legal counsel should have advised the Prime Minister, deceased Lion Khan, and the rest of them, Stuart Young and the rest of them. And all of them today are happy like pappy to access benefits where the taxpayers, the same PETROTRIN workers would have contributed to. They are happy to access that. But they are also equally happy to deny you, the retirees, what you are justly and legally entitled to. I'm going to pause here and open up for any questions on this issue.
Mr. Roshi, could you perhaps give us an idea of the value of the fund at this current time based on what the information you have and perhaps what's the size of the deficit?
Well, they have requested, as I said, over the period of a 10-year period, for them to inject 250 million, and then you pay, over that period of time, you pay 135 million per annum. So, all things considered, that's 1.35 billion. They have been injected that 250 million to, as the first major payment into that first lump sum to secure.
So the 1.35 billion is the deficit?
1.35 billion.
That's the deficit.
Yes. In addition to 250 million. Right? So what it requires for you to sum that up is an initial payment of 250 million plus your 135 million per annum for 10 years.
Okay, so we're looking at a 1.35 billion deficit.
Yeah, plus your 250 million. Yes.
1.5 billion.
Yeah. Plus your, So I broke it down for you to so you can know exactly where it's like.
When is the deadline for PETROTRIN and PETROTRIN to respond?
We asked that in reply in 14 days. In 14 days of this evidence. Yeah, 14 days.
So that is 24?
Yeah. And then we will be moving into be further action. 14 days from the date of receipt of this letter.
Right, and you said 125 retirees gave
Yes.
permission. Are there more retirees than that?
Oh, yes, sir.
What's the size of it?
Yes, certainly. You have about 7,000 retirees at the moment on PETROTRIN. When you include both the those who would have retired before, those who they would have retired forcefully at the close of the company, and so on, and those who remember, there would be those who would be approaching retirement age because people continue to attain the age of retirement and so on at a time when the plan is not funded. So Minister of Finance at the end of the day has to account, because their chairman and the Minister of Finance and their Prime Minister and deceased Lion Khan, all of them, and Stuart Young, all of them guaranteed that the government will make good on this payment, and any deficit that would be occasioned as a result of the closure of the company, the government will make good. But you know how that goes.
So the pre-auction protocol letter is to get information on where the company and the trustee reach regarding the recommendations by the actuaries.
By the actuaries, yes.
But
first step.
And if they don't respond, then the matter will go.
Then the matter, yes, that's correct. That is correct.
So when you're talking 7,000 retirees, this is correct figures until the employee retirees were still alive, right?
The present retirees, yes. Yeah, there's more to come, and as more come on, that would exacerbate if they did not make good on this payment, which is why the actuaries looking long term down the road recognize that this, listen, with investment down as it is, because remember that too is a factor. And so with investment as it is, low returns on investment and so on, and with no contribution, this is the crux of what we are saying here, and with no additional contribution to the plan will run into real problems, because it is already in deficit. Right?
So we're looking at a 1.5 billion deficit. What's the current monetary value of the fund? What's in the fund right now in terms of our monetary value?
It's two. That is your talking about the
pension fund. I mean, if you say there's a deficit of 1.5 billion, how much is in the fund right now? What's the current monetary value of the fund?
Yeah. So it was around the report prior to this, it was around $7 billion, around $7 billion. But those are some of the information that we are requesting right now as a result of the closure. Now remember, the closure of the plan is not in operation and so on, and therefore you don't have your management committees in place. That's another breach of the trust deed and rules, to have a management committee manage the plan as part of the agreement. The union is part of that trust deed, part of that management committee, implementing the trust deeds and rules and so on.
But is it 7 billion now, or was it 7
Then,
billion
at that time.
At the time of closure?
The last report. Yeah.
I don't know if you shared it before, but can you share when the 250 million injection was made into the plan?
No, it wasn't made.
Wasn't it?
No, it wasn't made.
That's the
recommendations.
As you said before, part of this whole process is to find out where the funds are.
Yes.
DHL and the Republic Bank are.
Yes.
Some activities that recommendation.
Yes.
That's good.
So, I mean, you all have an idea as to if no further injection is needed, how long it will take before we can actually catch it?
Women is going to catch for sure. Yeah. And no. And that is what we are trying to prevent from happening. But as sure as night will follow day, it would crash. And then there are some other factors involved, which has to do with investments and so on. So low returns on investment and so on would cause a typical crash. I would like to talk about crash, but it would cause the plant running into problems even faster. So they took all of those assumptions into account, and they said they recommended strongly that the plan be funded. The government thus far has not lived up to its commitment. Okay? So you shut down the company, send the workers home. Apart from all the other problems that we'll talk about with respect to PETROTRIN and the country and problems and so on, that's another thing by itself. But that precisely for this issue, the issue of the retirees and their benefits, their entitled benefits, that is in jeopardy.
So when you say
You're not doing a press conference now, I can't talk to you.
so you're talking about
Later.
and those who are close to retirement.
Yes.
And when they say and so forth, you mean anybody who would.
And those who, everybody who, you see,
They're still entitled
yes, because all the employees of PETROTRIN were members of the PETROTRIN Employees Pension Plan, and at different stages they would have retired and therefore entitled to pension.
If they didn't reach retirement, right, their contributions will not pay back to them.
After 5 years, they are not entitled to return a fair contribution. But below 5 years, those who have not attained 5 years with the company, they would be entitled to get back their contribution. But once you cross 5 years, and a significant number of those workers, and remember the company was not hiring, so a significant number of workers, large numbers, the majority of those workers cross 5 years and therefore would have to wait until they reach retirement to get their pension benefits. So here is where we are. We just want to put the retirees on notice, country on notice, everybody on notice, that again, this is another one of the lies that they continue to tell, coming from the Ministry of Finance, coming from the Ministry of Energy, the Ministry of National Security, that Stuart little fella. All of them are involved in the big PETROTRIN lie. And again, it is not unreasonable for us to call for, on the basis of all of these benefits that are denied, and on the basis of all of the suffering of the people, and on the basis of the loss to the country, it is not unreasonable for us to call for a commission of inquiry into the closure of the Petroleum Company of Trinidad. The country must know at some point, if not now, when they leave government, because that is going to happen. If not now, at some time soon, we must have a commission of inquiry, a public commission of inquiry into who get vexed, and who operated by VAPs, and who advised them to close PETROTRIN. Because clearly, where we are now as a country, for those who have ears, let them hear. And for those who have eyes, let them see that it was a grave injustice, not just to the PETROTRIN workers, but to every single citizen, born and unborn, when they took the decision to shut down the Petroleum Company of Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah. Dr. Eric Williams, George Chambers, Patrick Manning would have never taken such a decision. Hear that, your PNM? Dr. Eric Eustace Williams, George Chambers, Patrick Manning would have never taken such a decision. And may I also say, A&R Robinson, Basdeo Pandey, and Kamala Prasad Bisesa would have never taken such a decision to shut down PETROTRIN and put so many people on the breadline, so many people in jeopardy, so many pensioners, so many retirees, benefits in jeopardy. That would have never happened. In other words, no sane sitting prime minister and government in the right mind would have taken such a decision, which is why I want to end again with the call for a public inquiry into the closure of the petroleum company. Thank you very much. Yes.
Now, under the law, if a company is restructured, the new format, the new company, is responsible for all the debts of the former entity.
Yeah.
And if you restructure PETROTRIN and TPHL is the mother company for Paria and Heritage, and as far as the government is concerned, PETROTRIN no longer exists, how can you say PETROTRIN is responsible when TPHL was supposed to inherit the plan?
Yes. Yes. There's a lot of games they are playing. A lot of games. Lots of games. You see, the games that they play, it relates to the livelihood and the lives of people. And as we have seen, people actually die now because of the games that these people are playing. What is joke for school children is death for property. Yeah, it's very, very serious. So we just want all of the retirees to know that we will go the distance, but that you must know that these people are not in your interest. This present government, if anything at all you learn from what I'm saying this morning, is that they are not in your interest at all. Because J.D. Sylvia, Hamil Smith, and all of them could not have responded had they not had instructions from these people from TPHL and from the former PETROTRIN legacy and so on. Instructions from these people who were placed there at the behest of and on the instructions of the Prime Minister himself. As a matter of fact, they are friends of, close body pals of, because you put your best partner who don't know anything about oilfield operation, to run oilfield operation, and so on. And so there's where the lawyer would get with their lawyer friends and so on, and a lot of money to be made in this at the expense of people's livelihood. And that is so crucial for people to understand that this government do not have the interests of the ordinary man at heart. And we have a statement to make, stand by. We have another statement to make on the issue of patriotic, but that's not today. That's, we will let you know, that's coming up very soon. An update on the issue of patriotic. All right, thanks again for coming.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thanks.